Alright, hello everybody again. Welcome back to the channel. And I'm kind of uploading another video on ranking the Superman movies. And wanted to go over this kind of chart that I've made. I'm trying to, um, I'm kind of putting numbers together and figuring out some different considerations that I have about stuff. So let me try to explain the chart. This is DCEU information. And right now I haven't added anything else really into it. But I'll tell you this. I'm and I probably will try to start researching some other stuff and trying to figure out where I can get information. Because I'm basing this off of Box Office Mojo, the numbers and stuff like that, just to get the basic numbers and to get some ideas. And I don't know why this color is this color. Why? Let's see if we can change this. Because it doesn't need to be that color. No, that didn't work. Bear with me a second. I'm wondering if, no. It's really not doing anything for me. Okay. I'm gonna just have to leave it at that, I guess. Because it's not making any kinds of adjustments. Anyway, yeah, you'll be able to see in a minute. But anyway, it's the DCEU movies. We got Man of Steel, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Justice League, Aquaman, Shazam, Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman 1984. Then after that came out Zack Snyder's Justice League, and then the Suicide Squad, Black Adam, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, the Flash, Blue Beetle, Aquaman, and the Lost Kingdom. And of course, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition, came out on disc between Suicide Squad and Wonder Woman. But I had to kind of separate the Zack Snyder Justice League and Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition because those go to the live streaming services and or 4Ks and DVDs and stuff like that. So I could say I don't really have numbers on the rentals and stuff like that, the numbers of that sort, and how that would factor into like how much it costs. What goes into that? Well, what kind of marketing exists for that as far as costs? So let me just kind of show you the uh, the chart basically. So as you can see, let's let's see how much you can see of this. All right, so you see, I just kind of highlighted Aquaman, not purposefully, kind of accidentally. But anyway, I'm gonna just get off of that. And you can see the list of movies. So the title and the number that it is over here further. Let me see if I can make this smaller. Kind of leaving the screen at that point. Yes, there you go. So anyway, you got this is the number of release. Now you notice 10 is down here with Zack Snyder's Justice League, and below this is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. So I just kind of stuck it there because I've got a second sheet on here that goes to some rankings that some different critics gave. So it's just kind of an information sheet that I'm giving because I'll tell you what, I watch things on YouTube and I read all kinds of information, and then I listen to stuff 5, 6, 7, 10 years down the road. I'm like, this guy's not saying the exact same thing he said before. Or he's saying exactly the same thing he's saying about this that he said about another thing that was really bad. And he had to apologize for it. I mean, I've seen that. I've seen that kind of stuff. So I'm just kind of putting out information, throwing information in here. But this first page is mainly to show like the worldwide box office. I don't know why it turned green. I'm just not sure. Um, I'm 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 gonna have to try to look into it to see why it did that because I didn't intend it to be that way. I didn't put a fill in there, So I don't know. I don't know why it's showing up that color. Anyway, so you see Man of Steel. Worldwide box office is 670,000. Sorry, 670,145,518 dollars. I intend at some point to try to figure out how to, or where I can research something for the number of tickets sold. Because I'll tell you this, I was alive back then, 2013. Watched this in the theater myself. It cost $10 for a preview screening. You had previews on one night, okay, Thursday night, and it was in 2013. It was a 7 or 7:30 showing, and one particular theater in town was doing it, helping or maybe there's a few different theaters. I'm not 100% on that one. Just my memory's going. But it was one showing. One or maybe two a later showing. For the early screenings were basically like midnight stuff. And a few years before that, it was like midnight screenings or 10 o'clock at night is you'd get it on Thursday. And then on Friday, you'd get close to the evening. Like it would not normally be a bunch of matinee showings. Now we've got showings on Thursdays starting at earlier than 2 o'clock. But 2 o'clock, like Fantastic Four's coming out this weekend, a couple of days from now. And it is 2 o'clock is a standard showing that's coming on. All right. I should be able to pull that up just to give you all the information. But no worries about it. You can look at your own theater and see that. So they'll have that showing. They'll have two or three more in the day for a standard version, and then they'd have the premium showings. And it may not be, it might be split because now we got Jurassic World, Rebirth, Superman, and then Fantastic Four trying to all take some premium screens. The theater that I go to has, I think, one ScreenX, one 4DX, and one, maybe two RPXs. So just a few, premium screens. They're not the right word for this. They're not. It's not so many screens available of the premium sort. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to get at. So usually one movie is either gonna take it all if it's brand new and it's blockbuster kind of thing, or they're splitting it between the other ones. Right now, I don't know for sure what they're doing in this case. But anyway, this is supposed to be more about this. But back in the day, back in the 12 years ago, when Man of Steel came out, and 9 years ago when Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad came out, they didn't have a lot of the 4DX. A 4DX it's really a gimmicky thing, and some people would think that you wouldn't do, but it is an experience. Okay, so gimmicky or not, I mean that's just a word to tell you what it is. it's not that it's not an experience. It is an experience. Now, I watched Man of Steel in 3D, and I watched Man of Steel in IMAX, and I watched Man of Steel in Standard, and I watched Man of Steel in Standard, and I watched Man of Steel in IMAX and 3D and in 3D, and I probably still have the 3D glasses that I watched Man of Steel in several different times, and multitudes of times the other. I don't think there was a D box or 4DX type of setup in my area. Surely there were in other places. Now, what I've noticed about 4DX, now 4DX generally is costing 2.5 times more than a regular ticket, right? More than just your standard ticket. And depending on your deals, you might have a Regal Unlimited, or you might have the AMC. What do they call that now? Whatever it's called, where you get to go to several movies for the cost of your monthly membership, right? And those will reduce the cost of these premium seats by quite a lot, but there's still a fee to get to the premium, the whatever the premium seat is, the RPXs or Screen X, where the screen's beside you as well and in front of you. Yeah, it's anyway. The cost of those tickets is more, and I've noticed a lot of sales, or a lot of things that I was able to look up online of sales of tickets, that a lot of 4DX type of sales were more sold out for both Jurassic World and for Superman, more than the standard showings, which means a ticket was 2.5 times as much as a regular ticket is being sold. So one person back in 2013 was well, I should reverse this. One person today, one ticket sold today, was 2+ tickets back in 2013. And we'll just round it down to 2 and factor in, IMAX screenings and stuff like that, and how they're less expensive, but they're still up there, as far as doubling price. So, and then there's some factor that we could probably figure out for how many people possibly watched the premium screens back then, how much that costs, and everything else. But just what I was noticing is, and when I went to Man of Steel, the preview showing was pretty well packed out. And that was later at night, like I said, 7 something. And then, if there was another one, it was sold out too. Pretty well sold out again. The next day, the opening day, it was sold out. Pretty well. It was a pretty full theater. I'd have to get there early to get my tickets. I didn't do a lot of pre-sales online kind of stuff. And I don't remember a lot of people doing it. Walk up to the box office and do your ticket. And so there were theater after theater after theater that was full. And today, though, you don't have to do that. You can have half as many people go, and it's the same amount of money. And I said, was that inflation? No, it's not inflation. That is a different ticket sale, and therefore a different amount. So the amount of money was different in one thing, and the inflation cost to the amount of money now is one thing. Okay, and so buying power is less now than it was even just 12 years ago by a certain factor. And you can look that up. There's the inflation rate calculator, CPI, core inflation, stuff like that. There's another factor for inflation. So there's a few different kinds, but when I looked it up, there's 3 or 4 websites and calculators that basically said that 12-year factor was 1.3799 or something close to that, 1.38, about 1.4. That's still correct. That'll just give you a little bit higher number. Anyway, you can work with this kind of sheet, and I could probably make it available if people want it. So the box office, if you watch, I sort it A to Z. That means I'm going from the least cost, right, the lowest budget, which is Blue Beetle, the 15th movie in the 16, 17 movie franchise. We can say 15. We're not really including Zack Snyder's Justice League down here. And that goes up to the highest box office, which was Aquaman, the 6th movie that was released. This reference is because it moved an average that I did, and I can't leave it like this or save it like this. I'm not going to try, but that's what that did there. And then when you do this, you're saying budget-wise, this is the lowest budget to the highest budget, and it's a worldwide box office. And you want to find this box to figure out what it is. Domestic box office, international box office. I go into percentages adjusted for inflation. That's here. Domestic adjusted for inflation, international adjusted for inflation. Reported budgets. So, for an example, when we did this and moved it to from the lowest to the highest budget, okay, or not lowest to highest. Sorry, box office, gross box office. Then I looked here at the budget. All right, so this is the this is the lowest budget. This one that's reportedly 82 million. This one 85 million. Blue Beetle is getting 120 million. So that's the kind of stuff I figured out, and you can follow the line along. And I put in the theoretical marketing and stuff like that. And we have a calculation for a break-even point. So, for example, the break-even point is here, and with the budgeting, and the budget's where it's figured from. The budget plus the marketing for Blue Beetle is supposedly $180 million. If you just take the calculations, they give you online kind of calculations and stuff like that, right? And there's a lot of different calculating you can do with this. I'm going to back this off and go back from that, and because we can figure it out from any one of these things. All right, so Blue Beetle is there, right? In fact, let me just do that. Kind of highlight it, and you see 100. The box office 130 $1,788,000 $72, and then domestic and international percentages. It doesn't matter a whole lot. It does show that it had kind of a low percentage overseas, international, whereas the last one here is Aquaman Lost Kingdom, 71% overseas, and the averages I have down here too. So it's a total and then an average, which they're fairly close together, but not exact. And that may or may not happen with other franchises or other setups you may try to figure out. but it's a rule of thumb that this is the ideal uh, sort of, or something higher, something bigger overseas and doing well domestically and stuff like that. So Blue Beetle has a problem overseas. Not sure why. I'm not necessarily theorizing any of this stuff either. Okay. Box office adjusted for inflation. Of course, this was only a couple of years ago. Uh, First one is The Man of Steel. Nearly $1 billion adjusted for inflation worldwide, based on calculators that are online. So I'm not making anything up myself. Domestic adjusted for inflation and international adjusted for inflation, all that. Reported budget, I've got even the budget adjusted for inflation, just to have numbers, because I look at numbers. Anyway, reported budget for, again, looking at Blue Beetle in this blue line down here, right, is 120 million dollars. So 60 million is theoretical marketing because they figure up to half or around half of the marketing. This is something I haven't quite been able to wrap my head around or understand. Uh, why they would say something like that. Why that even makes sense. Um, and then there's sometimes they come out with different reports and say that something is something else. There was a recent Variety report, and I'm just saying recent, about the new Superman movie that said it was 225 million budget and it was 125 million in marketing, which would not get to the calculations. It would not be exactly with it. In fact, it would be higher if you're just using the calculator. 50% of 225 million is, not 125 million. You can tell if it's half, right? You're half in 25 million. That's 12.5 million. It should be 112.5 million, a normal budgeting. But before this, they came out and said it was 225 million for the budget and the marketing was going to be 200 million. They stated that without any doubt, and I wouldn't doubt that the marketing budget was that 200 million based on what came out. Now, of course, there was the tax reporting before that of 363 million dollars as the budget. And if that's so, and you do half again, then that's uh, it's it's $180 million for marketing. So you add 360 something million and 180 million, and you get 540 million dollars, and that's just the idea of what the marketing and the budget is. Now, the calculation for figuring a break even point. This is where it also gets kind of confusing because you would think you're factoring in the budget and the marketing, but they don't do it that way. They do a factor of 2.5 times the budget is including the marketing somehow and saying break even is at this point. Okay, and the 2 times is supposed to be about half goes to the theater, because the theater that you go to has to make money. Okay, and they don't just make money from the concessions. The majority of what they're going to make is coming from that concessions. The way their profitable business is coming from that, because they are they're taking, let's say a ticket costs you $20. $10 will go to the theater to offset the cost of showing that movie, and then $10 will go to the studio to cover the budget and all this stuff. So that's half. All right. But somehow they decided that the budget, if you multiply it by 2.5, you get coverage for the marketing. Now, I assume there's ways of figuring that out, like there's sponsorships, like Lego may pay a fee in order to get Superman or whatever movie it is and do a, you know, characterization there. Or Uno may, um, you know, partner with Warner Brothers, and then the cost of that marketing is technically less. It's offset by various things otherwise. And I want to say that that's the way they figure that out in order to say, well, this is profitable or this is maybe not profitable. Um, but it's based on a 2.5 calculation. So at that point, I have a break even point here. I can make it a little bit tighter. And then a profit or loss little section. All right, so based on the break even point of the budget times, the 2.5, 120 million. Half of it is, of course, 60. But 2 times this is 240, plus the 60 is in 300. That's the way you figure it out easily. Or you just look at your chart, of course. $300 million is what Blue Beetle needed to make in order to break even. So it lost for the studio $169,211,928 and whatever change. Now, it would be nice if the studios, even if they took a few years and said we'll release those numbers later, it's a theoretical thing. Is the only way I can look at it, really. And then I put some notes on here too. You can see these are notes on the numbers. I remember this being a disputed budget. This and this one also. Now this was the Flash. This was, if I'm not mistaken, let's see the. One, two, three. Oh yeah, Black Adam. And there may have been some other ones that were reportedly higher too. Now, let's go to Wonder Woman just to look at what it was. See if this is one. Box office worldwide 823,970,682. The budget was reported budget was 150 million. And apparently the reported budget for Wonder Woman 1984 was 200 million. These two, well, let me just check it out. I'm looking at the lower figures there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright, so Shazam and Birds of Prey were supposedly less expensive. Now, that's not necessarily bad because they made less money too. But anyway, Wonder Woman adjusted for inflation. It's nice to see that sometimes. Adjusted for inflation to today's dollars, more than $1 billion. In fact, the DCEU almost $1 billion for the first movie, adjusted for inflation. 1.1 billion for Batman v Superman. Suicide Squad's over a little bit over $1 billion. Wonder Woman, a bit more than Suicide Squad. Then Justice League from 2017, much lower, less than $1 billion. And then 1.47, almost 1.5 billion adjusted for inflation, Aquaman. And then less than 500 million going all the way down. Okay. To Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Now, I didn't really point that out for you there, but there you see them. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we just give a little bit to Man of Steel, you got $5 billion plus, or total $9 billion. That was among 6 movies for 5. 1, 2, 3, yeah, 5 movies. Now, keeping this up here, and again, we're looking at Wonder Woman right now. Wonder Woman's reported budget $150 million. So the theoretical break-even point is $375 million worldwide. Profit $448 million. So you could fund the next Wonder Woman movie out of that profit, $200 million. And that's where the tricky part comes in. So if you do that, you fund the movie. Break even points. Let's see, 200 million and 300 million. Budget should be theoretical break even point. No. Where is Wonder Woman 84? I wonder if I've got a calculation wrong here. Alright, let's check this out. I'm going to go down and look at this. Wonder Woman 84 was day and date release on both in the theater and then on HBO Max. And then pretty quick went to digital sales. So it would be interesting to find out better, that. Because it got good streaming numbers. It got a lot of people in. A lot of people came into HBO Max to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League. I did, in fact. So, there's a lot of people that did. Worldwide box office on a $200 million budget was worldwide $169,601,036. Now, the Suicide Squad's below that, which made less than that. In fact, to date, that was the lowest. And pointing it out right there. That was it. And then Black Adam, quite a bit above that. And so forth. So anyway, this is a way for me to look, because somebody said, and here's the Wonder Woman, 200 million. Theoretical break-even points, 500 million. 200 and 300. 200 million. 2.5. Yeah, that's 5 million, isn't it? 500 million. Okay, so that was the break-even point, supposedly. Which means that at 168 million, they lost $330 million on Wonder Woman 19. Just lost the train of thought. Now, you have this number though, right? And this number up here, the 448. That's your other Wonder Woman. Okay? So, if this number is less than this number, the loss of 330 million is less than the gain of 448 million. That means you have profitable franchise. Now, diminishing returns, sure, or one-off lower, yeah, that makes sense. Sure. Profit in the Man of Steel, profit of Batman v Superman. This is theoretical still. And then this is Suicide Squad. That's Wonder Woman. This is Justice League, Justice League 2017. And the budget for that was 300 million supposedly. So budget plus marketing, 450. Now, if you were to take the 450 and try to say, well, you're trying to get that back from ticket sales, then you've got to double this. And if you double this, that'd be $900 million, which is 150 million more than that. So, again, the calculation that people use, if you didn't know, I'm giving you some good information. If not, then you might have to go and check it out. But this is what everything will tell you. Even AI overviews will tell you that this is an accurate figure. But I've seen some people reporting that, oh, you just got to do double whatever the budget is. It's not so. It's 2.5. What has always been the factor since I've been looking at these things for probably 20 years or more, and just saying, okay, well, what is this? What is this? What is that? Well, this is, like I said, this is Justice League. If we ever were to be able to get the actual figures of like Zack Snyder's Justice League, and you get the budget considerations of all these things and TV shows that they make. I mean, they put millions of dollars into these things, so there must be that ability to make that kind of thing out of it. So I'm not disputing anything. I'm just saying I'd like to find out from somewhere how we figure out what those numbers are. Because we don't really necessarily get reporting of that. We get a lot of this is the number one show on TV, which I don't know if that means there's 15 viewers and nobody else is watching anything else on TV. That would make it the number one show. And I'm exaggerating, obviously. But anyway, after this, of course, this is Aquaman, the profit or loss, the profit from Aquaman. Their break-even point, $400 million. If we go back to look at, try to see. There we go. International Justice Revelation. Reported budget 160 million for Aquaman, and then it made, without adjusting, 1.152 billion dollars. Now, in addition to these things, this is just the DCEU and whether or not it's profitable, whether or not it's lost money. And I'm going to have to go in there and say, we're going to add up, not break-even points, but the profit or loss, for the first so many movies, and then cut it off at Wonder Woman, 1984. We're going to say the cutoff point is COVID-19 era of things that went wrong in this country, and before we got Zack Snyder's Justice League. But yeah, first of all, now I could change this around. I can go and do profit or loss and go from the highest profit down to the biggest loss. Okay, can do it that way. Again, it moves kind of things around. Or change this to the biggest loss up to the highest profit. With the various exclusions that we've got. Now, we'll go back because I'm not staying with that. Could do that for break-even point and everything else. But I think I will figure out what this number is, because this is the profitability. This is the DCEU when there was fighting going on and arguing back and forth, and there was this pretty much they were staying basically the same. Okay. Now let's see, because like I said, somebody said Black Adam. Black Adam made 393 million worldwide. So let's go to that. And I think that I commented that I didn't think it lost money. All right, so the budget reported is 200 million. 200 million, the break-even point is then 500 million, because you double and a half. 200 million times 2 is 400 million. Half of the 200 million is 100 million. So 400 plus 100. Now that would mean it took a loss of $106,547,000 in some change. And yeah, so, and I apologize to the person that I misspoke. It did lose money. The last movie in the series, Aquaman 2, in budget 205 million, so they had a theoretical break-even point of 500 million. Now I'm really wondering why, except for the fact that they have made money up here. Okay? They've made plenty of money up here. Now, this money probably got distributed, or was it saved aside, put in coffers for later on? So, at some point, I will probably do a calculation, do an addition problem down here for this section, first 8 or 9 movies in the DCEU, and then from there down. So, what's the biggest loss here? The biggest loss looks like 330 million, 398,964, which would be the Wonder Woman 1984. And then the next biggest loser is the one right below that, which was the Suicide Squad. $293 million loss. Now, what does that wipe out? See here, $330 million wipes out this $311 million from Suicide Squad, with about $20 million to go. 20 million from something else here, or let's just say 20 million added to this negative 88. So that's 110. That wipes out that budget with Man of Steel, profit. So we got 216. This 750 too for Aquaman really sustained them. All right, and I did do this addition of all of these. So the sum of all of that, plus and minus. Okay, so adding in and subtracting away. And I'm just going to try to look at it real quick. Yeah, 400 million and then 700 is. Yep, it started dipping into that, and there's our total there, and then the average is below that. Now again, let's just do it in real time. Okay, we're going to do an equal and then sum of these. Now that's Why wouldn't that do that? Default output of reference. Uh, Not sure what that's trying to tell me. Why did it not want to do it? Alright, let's just delete this one. And do another equal. Equal to. Why? Why is it not giving me the number? I mean, because this is. I guess I need to do some. That's right. That's the difference here. Yeah. Some. And then enclose that in parentheses. And I'll do it differently next time. Alright, so up to, which one is that? Just before Wonder Woman, Birds of Prey, Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Which, according to this, had a budget of 80-something million, and I think it was 82. Budget. There it is. Reported budget $82 million. 85 for Shazam. And Shazam, therefore, made 155. Anyway, this is more like it. Now listen, the effects for Shazam are good, are really good. It does not need a $200 million budget, unless you're paying people really well with that. Fury of the Gods, just looking. Was reported budget 125 million. And even that, 125 million gives you a breaking point, 250 plus 75 or thereabouts. I think this is that. So they made money, 155, lost it there, right? And went below. But anyway, all right. So this figure is pre Wonder Woman. Again, to Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey did not make a whole lot in the box office. Now, there's a reason for that, I think, and I think the main reason is just going to an R-rated version of things. Before that, this is all family, generally family friendly. All right, and making lots of money, except for Justice League and what they did. Now that happened despite the hype, despite the people coming out and saying this is such a movie, blah 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 blah. But anyway, $1.9 billion, nearly $2 billion, and get even a little closer if we were to take out, a movie like Justice League. And then everything past that was a loss. Now, this is the Suicide Squad, so the next movie after Suicide Squad, this is The Flash, this is Suicide Squad. What was after Suicide Squad? Oh, Black Adam. Black Adam took a loss of 106 million. Was other than Aquaman at the end, that was the lowest loss of all the ones after. and we're trying to come out of the pandemic and everything else. So all the excuses made for something like Wonder Woman 84. And again, it would be a different factor. I'm granting that there's a different factor in the desire to see that movie and the numbers in streaming and the streaming services and the people that have to purchase streaming in order to get that, especially HBO Max, which was always expensive, like twice as much as anything else. Starting out costs is twice as much. So HBO Max is just way up there. Almost twice. It may not be exactly. I don't want anybody coming at me. Um, but yeah, and Black Adam was fought against so much by the studio, by others, um, by a class of the fandom, just that was hateful toward it, and overall, it is pretty good. Uh, and even even anyway, people admit to things that they don't intend to admit to sometimes. So watch them very closely. But anyway, Black Adam was the least of the losses, except for the final one, Aquaman. Aquaman was coming off of this $1 billion success, though, and and ultimately the two Aquaman movies um, made more than $600 million um, above budget and or break even points. Now, if those break even points are wrong, let's just say that to market a movie, you buy a package and you say you're going to see, so many commercials out there. It's going to be in the Super Bowl. It's going to be this and that. That's a cost. Just give us that at some point. 5, 6 years after the thing has come out, maybe, and just say, here was the actual budget. And then we can start figuring out what marketing budgets actually are. Okay? Because I'm looking at it and thinking, this is the idea for marketing plus inflation, theoretical marketing for Man of Steel, 112,500,000, then 131,500,000 for Batman v Superman, 87 million for Suicide Squad. Why? Just because the budget is less? I don't know that I buy that. Okay, they spent more anyway. Not don't need to dig up all the dirt and stuff. Um, and then this is Wonder Woman, 75 million, just because it was lower. I mean, are you not showing a, a commercial to the same 20,000 people? And get it on 20,000 screens. It costs the same thing. It doesn't cost less for this one than it does for just because he's a Man of Steel. At least that's the way I look at it. And same thing when you go to the cost for like the Justice League in 2017, 150 million for marketing. Apparently, that's again the theory, theoretical marketing. And again, reported budgets is what they tell us, and what we can find out. When they have something like a tax filing, though, why are we denying a tax filing? I mean, is the state of Ohio saying, okay, well, give us some of that tax break back because you didn't actually put that in your budget's not actually that. They could come out with numbers and just satisfy every theoretical person. Okay, it was 363 million. We're talking about Superman 2025, according to the filing in the state of Ohio. And they got back, I don't know, maybe it was 30 million. 366 million minus 30 million is 333 million. All right, so if that's the case, and then you can account for that later on. Well, we went to Atlanta and we got a tax break of $10 million, and we went here and we got a tax break of this and that. So this is direct money back into the pockets of the company. I say, okay, well that makes sense. The benefit of that is that just like if you buy a ticket to go watch the movie, that's going toward that cost and reducing it. But you don't reduce the budget to the point of zero. You don't say, well, yeah, all these ticket sales, our budget was zero. So you don't do that for the tax credits either. You might be able to say, this was our budget, this is the money we spent there for, and then this was the tax credit we received from the business, for this business, I mean. From the state of Ohio, from the federal government, or from whatever. So, I mean, that's just the way you got to look at it. Uh, as long as we have theoretical stuff, we're gonna guess, we're gonna estimate, and we're gonna say we think this was this and this, and that was that. Overall, it made a little bit of money. It was probably paid out to CEOs and all that along the way. So, what helps them while that's going on, especially while all these losses are being shown? What's going on there? Well, they put out a movie like The Joker for $55 million. $55 million. And they make $1 billion. Now, Joker's not a perfect example because there's something strange about the distribution. Warner Brothers, it does say, is the distributor, but it was it New Line Cinema or something like that? Somebody else was involved that had the rights of sale of these things. Okay, so again, Joker's not the perfect example, but if it were a perfect example and it was all Warner Brothers and they made $1,078,000,000, theoretically, 2.5 times the breaking point of this is half of 55 is 27.5. And so 55 and 55, we get out a trusty calculator. Hmm. 2.5. There we go. $137 million. It was a break-even point. 1,078,751,311. I see what I did there. 137. That's my guess right there. Anyway, 1078. I'm just putting the numbers in off screen is all. 751,311. Is it Todd Phillips? All right, so 941,251,311. Now, then they came out with Joker for Les Adieux, which is the insanity of two together, something like that, shared delusion. Whatever the actual thing is. Anyway, the budget for this, it's not written down here, but I looked it up, was 200 million. 200 million, and worldwide it crossed 207 million 500 500,287 worldwide. 58 million. So listen, it's kind of interesting. But anyway, you're tackling that off of, and it's, again, 300 is a $500 million break-even point. To do $200 million, a 200 million thing. Again, 500 million, the break-even point is because, listen, the studios only get approximately half, of the theater's intake on tickets. It depends which company you are. Apparently, Disney gets more of a percentage, so they do that, and they probably use a lot of that percentage a lot of times to buy out other theaters that otherwise wouldn't have as many ticket sales. Anyway, um, but here, 200 million was supposed to make that. It lost 300 million. Well, from 900, and I'm just throwing out a really quick estimate, but $900 million, $940 million. Oops. Minus 300. $641,251,311. And the budget is covering the costs of the filmmakers, the actors, and so forth. It's covering that cost. So unless they got percentages or points and stuff like that, and I don't know all about that. That is, whew, that's more to look up. But the studio made some $600+ million off of the two Joker movies with Todd Phillips, I believe is his name. And that's how they do that. They made 600 million there with those two. And if we go back and look at the DCEU, overall, they made 525 million over a 12-year period. Average 35 million each. And if we go back to a calculator, wonderful calculator, 525 million over a 10-year period, because it was 2023 and 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23. It's actually 11 years. It equals 44 million, 700. It's almost $48 million per year. That's not bad, right? Hopefully, maybe, if we really average it out. If we're saying, okay, we keep that all in the bank, and then we're going to lose money on all this stuff. And let's the last four movies. We could do some comparisons. This would be interesting to compare. Is we got the Lost Kingdom here. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, $440 million. Box office domestically 124.4, almost 5. And adjusted for inflation, doesn't matter. It's only a couple of years. There's been some inflation for sure, but that's not what we're dealing with. Reported budget $205 million. Now, Aquaman was amazing on a budget up here, and we're going to say, it's 160 million. That's 205 million at the end, 160 million there. Marketing, 80 million, then 102 million. No burdens. Let's see. Budget adjusted for inflation, $204 million. So, in a sense, there's a budgetary, adjustment. Back in the day, it was nearly 205 million. So this year they give them 205 million. Okay. And if we went to figure out all that stuff, profit or loss, we could do profit or loss based on those adjusted for inflation numbers as well. But this really is one of the best ways to just figure out, all right, what's it doing? What does it need to do? What does it need to do? Alright, so if we do that, if we just take the numbers that we actually have, not the numbers that Warner Brothers wants to give us, but the numbers we actually have. Alright, it's $363 million. Right? That was the reported budget to the state of Ohio. And factor times 2.5. You can do this yourself on a calculator. And the number that we get is 907,500,000. Okay? Again, anybody is welcome to show me any receipts that show this is our budget and we take this off because of this or that reason. I didn't see any like glitch kind of indication in the filing with Ohio. Maybe Ohio wants to look into some kind of questions about whether or not they paid their taxes and getting these tax credits without spending the money they claim to have spent in the area where they're at or thereabouts. Anyway, that's the break-even point, $907.5 million. Now, just for the sake of it, times 2.5 equals break-even point. If the 225 million is accurate, then you're back to that's Man of Steel numbers. Okay, 562,500,000 is your break-even point. And we're just talking at this moment about monetary numbers, and that doesn't necessarily mean a movie's good. I will stand by this. The Minecraft movie. We'll go and look at this real quick. Minecraft. Minecraft. The Minecraft movie is not a good movie. It's not a good movie. It may be fun. It may be funny. It may have some appeal and some charm and stuff like that. But it's not a good movie. It's not like something meaningful and something that stays with you, something that affects you, and that sort of thing. And it might. Think it's still. I think it's still in theaters making money. It would be interesting because that would mean it may make more than $1 billion here in just a little bit. Let's see if it's showing out. Yeah, it's saying it's not in theaters anymore there, but it might be still in theaters overseas. I'm not sure. Oh, look at this. It's sometimes interesting what you can find on something like this. Theaters. It was in 46 theaters and made $43 on the 90th day. Now, other things are, other things are in the theaters longer and sustaining more time. So, I don't know how much of that you can see. But let's see what else. Not that. Let's go to worldwide totals. But no, it has made some money though. Let's just check it out and see if we can get this. Minecraft movie budget. 150 million. Well, 150 million, and it has made nearly $1 billion. Let's go to our information here and just see, do we have a budget of 150 million? We do, I'm sure. 150 million right there. And so, a theoretical break-even point is 375 million. It has made 600 plus million above that, right? Worldwide, three. Let's go back in. A little bit less, maybe 500 plus million. So it's doing pretty good as far as the financial success. It's great, you know. And there's some fun to be had, but it's not, no kind of master movie. And there are movies that are put out there that are really good movies, and then they don't make any money. They're not supported anywhere. And I'm not talking about the artsy nonsense that comes out that they, promote in the Oscars to great fanfare. And we're wondering who saw this movie, who watched it. Nobody watched this movie. That's why we don't know anything about it. We've never seen it, and we're not interested in it. It would bore us to tears, but it's out there. Anyway, I'm looking at that, and then there's plenty of other things that you can look at. Um, the website, the numbers, gives you some of these things, but also more. I was looking at one thing on the numbers that went to the crew, the cast and crew, and all that, and so I was looking at DCEU, and Gal Gadot was up there, and it was saying how much the franchise made. So it was like a total um, box office draw for both movies. Uh, doesn't talk about necessarily how much was lost, and I don't think you have to either. I think, hmm, let's see here. I'm gonna forsake that thought and go to something else. But yeah, I still got some work to do to just kind of pull together some different of figures here and say what the where the profit or loss was. What does that indicate anything at all? No, it just from a bottom line numbers position, it indicates that overall the DCEU was profitable. Now, as a comparison, which is not an equal comparison, as a comparison, the DCU has one movie out right now, and when it's done with its run, then you figure out what profit or loss of Superman, and say compare it to the total profit or loss of DCEU, and for a while, probably just based on what I'm seeing right now, the DCEU will be a more profitable franchise overall than the DCU. Of course, if Supergirl is released and it's $1 billion movie, and hopefully they're reining in the spending on that one, then it's $1 billion movie, and it's hmm, just gonna, you know what I mean? It would just take that over again. I don't know what the budget is for Supergirl. I'm not looking it up because I'm not trying to do a comparison between them. This same thing can be done for the Marvel universe. Um, there's a lot more Marvel movies, and you can lay them side by side at some different points too, and say the first movie released by Marvel was Iron Man, right? And then the second movie was The Incredible Hulk. The third movie was, and you just put those three out there, and that's versus Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and um, Wonder Woman. Hmm, I'm missing something. Suicide Squad, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Suicide Squad. Uh, this Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, and Iron Man 2, right? If you compare those numbers, you can compare those numbers all the way up to a certain place. Then, you know, and this is where it gets tricky, though. This is where it gets tricky. It's already been tricky. Uh, this is an important number that I'm looking at over here. Reported budget terminology. Let's see. Theoretical marketing. Okay, so budget adjusted for inflation is going to make a big difference. But being able to figure out the break-even point, the profit or loss is going to be then adjusted for inflation. I will probably add that column right here, and then I'll put that calculation to it. And we'll do totals and all this stuff. That'll be interesting. This will be adjusted for inflation, and then I feel like I need a table for the inflation just to be able to do it faster. But yeah, we can adjust all these for inflation, and it's not going to make the negatives turn positives or the positives, blow out of the water anybody in there that you didn't blow out of the water earlier. But it'd be interesting to do that because 2000 and was it 8 or so? Iron Man. I'm gonna quit here in just a second. Iron Man 2008 film. And what is the calculation to a 2008 film? And I'm not suggesting a fight between the two or anything like that. But the numbers are just the numbers. I mean, in a way, you can say, well, this one's more profitable than that one, up until this point. And we made 16 movies instead of 47 movies. I don't know how many Marvel has out. I'm just saying, just joking around. So yeah, that's my little chart, my little numbers. You can make your own. I would like to know what you try to figure out and things like that. And I just have Zack Snyder's Justice League and Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice kind of floating around in the bottom, and have a feeling that they could be, well, they could be, they're kind of placeholding right now. And one of these days, maybe, if maybe, come back and find the websites that have all the information on those kind of things, things at home, because I'm sure that it has done better in sales than the numbers website shows. The numbers website tries to show like disc sales, but I cannot imagine that they're 100% right. Not with what I mean, I'm sure people have been spending money to get some different movies online, and it just says, oh, yeah, there's a couple things sold, and that's it. I seriously doubt that. Not with as many people as are listening. And then streaming is another thing. Do you buy something and then have it to stream for life? Or do you, yeah, um, or do you um, just stream a channel? Do you just deal with ads? I mean, how much money do they make off the ads? That's all the figuring that I want to try to do sometime on Zack Snyder's Justice League and Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Anybody have any suggestions? Give me comments below. On this rating scale, I have Grace Randolph and Angry Joe from years ago. I sent him a little note, a comment saying, "Hey, you're gonna finish up the rest of the DCEU," and I haven't heard from them yet or seen anything. We got Sean Chandler, our movie news. I don't know his name. For our movie news. Then Cody Leach and the whole shebang. Don't know the news for uh, this person that really is a great James Gunn fan. And, anyway. And then we got, let's see, another Nick. No, yeah, another Nick. The Black Lion. I'm going to shut up about all this. Film stocked water culture, Koi Jandrew, or John Drew. Yandrew. I don't know. But I would like to put your name there. And you rate the 16 or 17 titles, or 18 or 19 if you want to, really. But yeah, I want to put some more names in here. And I will eventually, put mine in there and rank. This is the ranking of the DCEU, according to, like I said, Grace Randolph. Last place, Justice League, and then Wonder Woman, 1984. Then Birds of Prey, and the Phantom, etc. Say my name. Anyway, Wonder Woman was Grace Randolph's top, but Man of Steel appears to be the Angry Joe's and Crew's top movie. Sean Chandler has Zack Snyder's Justice League there. Etc. I mean, it goes on. But yeah, take some time. You can look up a list of the movies without any problem. 17 might be Peacemaker. Again, I have just Dawn of Justice here. However, when it's mentioned, it loosely, yeah. Anyway, random thoughts are popping into my head and can't get it. Send me your listings, if you will, and let me put you on the list. You don't have to send me your real name. You can hide it by something else if you want. But yeah, I'm done with all that. Now, I apologize. I was looking at that and I didn't show it to you at all. So let me show it to you a little bit. This is the rankings. It's the Grace Randolph and so forth. And all these different people. And I'll be glad to add your list right there, right after them, or a few down if you finish it first. Anyway, whoever wants to send me it. And like I said, I am rambling galore too much. Gotta stop. Or send me some YouTube links to somebody that ranks all of the DCEU. Not just like Superman movies or superhero movies and all that. I'm really being, particular, trying to be anyway, and saying let's get this on here. So I have rambled. I have fed you numbers. I have said things that don't necessarily make any sense. Would just be information for future events, future considerations, future comparisons and stuff like that. And that's really what it is. And you'd be able to compare one thing to another thing as long as they're properly tied together. That's comparing apples to apples, that sort of thing. If you compare a budget from 50 years ago to a budget today, that's not apples to apples. All right? Anybody else know anything better about the way marketing would work and how the cost of marketing figures in the way it figures in our calculations? I understand that that's the standard calculation. but anybody know the why behind that? And why not just get some actual numbers? Can we do that? Could we please? Let's just get some actual numbers. We'll start using those things to model our figuring better. Um, if it's like packages that are so much expensive, and then, or if it's just a marketing advertiser that says, "Hey, you made 500 made a movie for $500 million. I want to give you a $250 million package to advertise it." So, well, we don't want to do that. We've already told people that we're out there. We're social marketing, and people seem to be really excited about this movie. You know, it's trending everywhere and stuff, and we don't have to pay for that. Not this way, anyway. Not this amount of cost. Um, so, well, the traditional thing to do is to buy this expensive package. No, we could just market for the small package that we did our $80 million, you know, thing for, and or $55 million budget, $55 million budget for Joker, and did it get to spend less on commercials? Uh, It's interesting. It's an interesting thing to search out and look at, to me anyway. And if it doesn't interest you at all, why are you still watching? Those of you who are still watching, thank you so much. I probably owe you some money. Uh, just send me your information and I'll send you something, whatever that may be. Uh, but anyway, I won't send you money. I don't have the money to send. Uh, but God bless you for staying with me this long and putting up with a lot of numbers rambling. I'm a little tired of, like, nodding off somewhat and losing my train of thought and saying some random nonsense, I'm sure. Um, but bless you for listening. Bless you for paying attention. If you only watched a little bit of it and you don't care, that's okay too. I don't mind. We will see you again in the next video, though. Hopefully that you have a wonderful time until then, and that you're enjoying life and uh, uh, and liberty and the American way. We'll see you later. Bye.